Hey folks, welcome back. And today I want to talk about the difference between thinking and knowing, and why knowing the difference is important. So, as you've heard me mention before, there's a trend, right? That using our minds is like the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. And I think this is a little bit of a misdirection. I'm coming to know that the truth, right? The answers, knowing is in the body, not the mind. And there are lots of reasons, why we could be set up to sort of think that it's all about what we think, when in fact it's not. Actually, thinking is a good way to make sure that what you want or, the outcomes that you think you want don't really happen. And this is because thinking is sort of a way for you to telegraph your punches. Thinking is a way for you to sort of make it known what your next move's going to be. And I've come to realize that it's kind of good to not telegraph your moves on planet Earth today. Like if you have outcomes and desires and wants and things that you want to see happen, like it's kind of a good idea to not even think about it too loud, if you get my drift. And that's because thoughts can be monitored, right? And if you don't believe me, just stop for a minute and consider what social media actually is. Think about what a like is. Think about what a subscribe is. Think about how we are self-indicating our thoughts, right? Our beliefs, our values into social media. So just using social media alone, like, yes, our thoughts are monitored. And I would go farther and say that, as waveforms, right? Human beings are waves. We're energy waves. Energy waves can be hacked. Radio technology that already has sort of proven that you can just sort of tap into frequencies and just be involved with what's going on. That's what radio frequencies are. And, in my research, I've stumbled across CIA videos that talk about this covert research to basically be able to tap into the human mind and listen. And thoughts are what can be listened to. Now, when we think about the difference between thinking and knowing is not a thought, right? Knowing takes place at an unconscious level. So when we think about true knowing, tangible examples would be your heart, right? It knows that it's supposed to keep beating, right? When you sleep at night and you're unconscious, right, your mind is off, but your heart keeps working and you keep breathing, right? You have this knowing that takes place at an unconscious level. Now, in our daily lives, we do a lot of thinking, and so, we tend to think that what we think is the same as knowing, right? And it's not, okay? When we know a thing, we know it in our bodies. When we think a thing, we do tabulations in the mind to use logic to figure out if we think we should know it or not, or if it makes sense. So the mind can be used to discern, but that isn't the same as knowing. Once we know, we feel it in the body. So part of the reason why it's a good idea to understand the difference between thinking and knowing is that we can, as wizened society, collective of people who are sort of ascending into, higher frequencies, we can know. And in knowing, we can attain the outcomes we want without thinking so much about what we want, right? Without telegraphing our punches, because we don't really want any counterforces to know or understand what we want, what our next move's going to be. I think it's important to hold the knowingness in the body, right, for the intended or desired outcome without thinking about it so much. And that way, our next moves aren't as captured, right, and scored and analyzed. Because by now, most of you are probably starting to realize that human beings are paid attention to a lot more than we probably thought. As part of this whole, like, you're 1 in 8 or 9 billion mentality, we believe that no one really gives a crap about what we're up to, and that that could not be more untrue, right? We are very paid attention to. Imagine how closely a rancher keeps track of his cattle. You have to understand that there are forces out there that have a lot of vested interest in people, men and women of planet Earth, Terrans, some refer to us as. And so we are very much paid attention to, right? And part of reclaiming our power is not really indicating so much about what we want in a way that can be hacked, and then some counter force can be enabled against it, right? Because we have intentions, right? We have intentions and goals throughout the day that we'd like to accomplish, and when we know those goals, right, and we just move effortlessly, our hand knows how to open the door, to the car, our feet know how to move to the aisle of the grocery store we're going to, we know what we're doing and we don't think about it. We don't actually encounter too much resistance, right? Like if you think about NBA basketball players, who get in the zone, they're not thinking, they're doing, right? They're knowing. And when you get into that sort of flow state, that's when you're in your body, right? That's when your mind is off and you are consciously knowing in much the same way that the heart knows to keep beating and the lungs know how to keep breathing while you're sleeping. There's the line in the Matrix, don't think you can, know you can. That's when Neo gets into that flow state and starts doing all that funky Matrix stuff. Knowing doesn't take place in the mind. Knowing takes place in the body. And when you know, that can't be hacked. The mind can be hacked, thoughts, thinking, that can be monitored. Knowing is off limits. They can't get in there, right? Because the unconscious mind only says yes. So the unconscious mind can't even be treated as having free will. The mind has free will, but the body does not have free will. The body just says yes, okay? And so it's the mind that uses its free will to program the body, but the body just says yes. And when the body knows, it flows, right? When the body knows, your life flows, okay? And that's because you're not inviting opposition to your intentions into your life with your thoughts, right? The forces that don't want you to succeed, the forces that want you to fail, the forces that want you to feel like a failure, the forces that get off on your failure can essentially do stuff to make you fail once you start thinking about what you want too much. That's why there's all these sayings, about keep them guessing or keep your dreams or goals, to yourself. And it goes even deeper than that, right? Because you really are telegraphing your punches. You really are letting opposition to your intentions sort of get involved when you start thinking. And, remember, knowing happens in the body. Hopefully, we're more and more of us are starting to have these experiences in the body where we know, everything's possible. As we start to let go of what we think, our lives flow. And at the same time, our lives are flowing in the direction of the change we want to see. Part of what's so miraculous about all this is that what we're starting to know, what we're starting to embody, right? Because knowing happens in the body. What we're starting to feel, right? Because we need bodies to experience feelings, is moving us collectively in the direction of, a balanced, sane planet, kicking evil out, not accepting evil on planet Earth anymore. And that's where knowing takes us, right? That's where the truth takes us, right? So when we know, it flows. When we telegraph our punches, when we think too much, that's where interference and resistance can get involved. So that's all I had for today. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.